Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Beis, starting with Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 16 lines from the bottom, from the two dots. Our Mishnah opened up the parak by discussing that you can use any food items for your Eruv Techumin and your Shitufei Mevuos, with the exception of water and salt. Agav, the din of Eruv Techumin, the Mishnah brought another exception of salt and water when it comes to Meiser Sheni. Again, Meiser Sheni is brought on the first, second, fourth, and fifth years. The owner of the field first takes out Truma, gives it to the Kohen called Truma Gedoyla. Then he takes out 1/10 called Meiser Rishon to give to the Levi. And then he takes the Meiser Sheni. The Meiser Sheni is that produce which is now brought to Yerushalayim and eaten in Yerushalayim. If it's too cumbersome to bring all the way outside into Yerushalayim, so therefore a person can be poide the produce onto a matbeya, bring that kesef to Yerushalayim, and purchase foodstuffs with the Meiser Sheni. So our Mishnah states he can purchase all types of foodstuffs with that matbeya, with that kesef for Meiser Sheni, with the exception of water and salt. Says the Gemara, Hakol nikach bekesef meiser. Everything can be used to buy with the kesef of Meiser Sheni, to be brought foodstuffs with the exception of water and salt. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, Chad masni a eruv, v'chad masni a meiser. There are two statements. One's talked about the statement of meiser, while the other one talks about the statement of eruv. Chad masni a eruv. One taught in regards to eruv, Lo shanu ela mayim bifnei atzmoi umelech bifnei atzmoi. Dein ma'arvin, aval b'mayim umelech ma'arvin. One taught in regards to Eruv Techumin that you cannot use mayim or salt for your Eruv Techumin, but the combination of water and salt, which would then be a dip for bread, salt water, that would be considered to be viable to be used as your Eruv Techumin. V'chad masni a meiser, whereas the other one taught this in regards to meiser. Lo shanu ela mayim b'fnei atzmo melech b'fnei atzmo de'ein nikachim aval mayim umelach nikachim bekesef b'meiser. When it comes to water or salt, that you cannot use to buy your kesef to then eat in Yerushalayim. But if it's a combination of the salt and the water, that you can, yes, buy with your kesef and eat it in Yerushalayim. Man de masni a meiser, kol shekena eruv. The Gemara says the one who taught this in regards to meiser certainly would teach us also is true in regards to eruv techumin. Man de masni a eruv aval a meiser loy. But vice versa not. Ask the Gemara, my timer, why is that so? Why when it comes to then meiser, we would be more lenient? We would be more stringent and say, if it's true by Meiser, then Kol Shekain by Eruv. But when it comes to Eruv, it's not necessarily true by Meiser. Answers the Gemara, Peira Ba'ina, because in regards to Meiser, you need something that has the connotation of a fruit, even if it's not necessarily a fruit in the classical sense, but it's like a fruit that it comes from something else, then it's more, this the definition of what's required in regards to Meiser Sheni. So therefore, that would be something that we'd be more stringent about in regards to Meiser. So if it's taught in regards to Eruv, it's not necessarily going to be valid for Meiser. Says the Gemara, Ki osa Rabbi Yitzchok masni a Meiser. When Rabbi Yitzchok came, he taught this in regards to Mayim and Melach, in regards to Meiser. Meisvei asked the Gemara the following question. Hey, Rabbi Yehuda ben Godish, lifnei Rabbi Eliezer. Shel beis abo hayu loichin tzir bakesef meiser. Rabbi Yehuda ben Godish tells that in his father's household, they would buy with the matbeya of Meiser Sheni, tzir, which is the fish brine. And they would buy that with that money. In other words, that was viable to be used, to be eaten in Yerushalayim for your Meiser Sheni. Omar lo, Rabbi Eliezer says to him, Shema lo shamata, ela shekir be dagim muravim bohen. Maybe you did not hear that the innards of the fish was included in this brine, and that's why your father's household was able to then buy this with the Meiser Sheni money. Va'afilu Rabbi Yehuda ben Godish, the Gemara continues and now asks from this. Va'afilu Rabbi Yehuda ben Godish loy ka'omar ele betzir the shumna the peirohu. The only thing that he permitted was seer that was brine, which was going to be considered like a peri, because it comes from the fish. So it has the connotation of a fruit. The same idea that comes forth from something else. Then it's going to be viable for Meiser Sheni. Avamayim o melach loy. But to combine water and salt, that would not be viable. So how can Rabbi Yitzchak teach that water and salt together can yes be used for Meiser? Rav Yosef says, now we're top of Chof Zayin Amud Beis, Lo nitzricha elo shenosan lesoichon shemen. No, what we're talking about is over here, when he put inside of the shemen salt and water together. Omar le Abai, then Abai asked, if that's the case that it has shemen, then v'teipuk le mishum shemen, then why don't you derive it more easily by saying shemen alone? If shemen was used, then that's what allows you to then be poida the Meiser Sheni with, and go ahead and buy the shemen with the Meiser Sheni money. But if it's with salt and water, why mention salt and water? The significant point over here is the shemen. Answers the Gemara, because when he charged for the shemen, he charged a higher price, which included also water and salt mixed with it, which is called havla. In addition to the shemen that he bought, he then included in the shemen the salt and the water. Asked the Gemara, Uba havla mishari, is havla indeed permitted to be used for Meiser Sheni? Says the Gemara, yes, you can go ahead and use havla by then charging something else, in this case, and then including it. V'hatanya ben Bagbag oimer, as Ben Bagba indeed taught in the following brisa that you can use havla. You can go ahead and buy something, and then agav, that thing that you're buying can also then be used for that Meiser Sheni money. Babok, I'll read you the whole pasuk. The pasuk in regards to Meiser Sheni is read as follows: V'nosata hakesef b'kol asher taiva nafshecha, and you will buy with money all of your soul's desire. Babokar ubatzoin, with cattle and with sheep. Bayayin uvashechar, both wine which is new and old wine. Uvechol asher tishalcha nafshecha, ve'achalta sham lifnei Hashem Elokecha. Says the Gemara, quoted by Ben Bagbag in the following brisa: Babokar melamed shaloichim bokar al gav oroi. When you buy the bokar for your Meiser Sheni money in Yerushalayim, then you can also buy it with its hides. In other words, we don't say that the hides become kadosh, and you'd have to go ahead and sell the hides and then go ahead and buy food with that. When you buy the bakar for its meat, so then the havla is going to be with the or as well. Uvatzoin, and the sheep. Melamed shaloichin soin al gav gizosa. Similarly, when you buy the sheep for its meat, that money, we don't say that the sheep's wool becomes sanctified and you have to then go ahead and sell the wool to buy fruits and vegetables. No, when you bought the sheep, so then the sheep that you bought is going to be used for its meat, but then the wool will be able to use for your personal use. Ubeyayin melamed shaloichin yayin al gav kankankoy. And when it comes to buying wine, you can go ahead and buy the wine, even though you're going to get a kankan, a vessel that the wine is being held in. When it comes to older wine, this teaches me that you can go ahead and acquire the temed when you add water to after you press the wine, the grapes for the wine. So you let those grapes that have been pressed already, you put water on it. So that which comes out is called temed. So that which is really essentially made with a lot of water, that itself can be also used for the money that you bought for the sheikhar. Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan said, Man de metargem li babokar. Rabbi Yochanan has a problem with this brisa. He learns that the brisa is indeed teaching me havla, but there's something that doesn't fit in the brisa. So says Rabbi Yochanan, Man de metargem li babokar aliba de ben bagbag. The one who's able to then interpret that statement of Bakar that Ben Bagbag taught over here and explain to me why that is necessary to be taught. I'll bring behind him, I'll be mechabed him by bringing his clothes behind him in the Beis HaMerchatz. My time, what's the reason that Rabbi Yochanan stated that the word Bakar is not really is superfluous according to this drasha? Because he says, Kula tzrichi lebarmi bokar de lo tzarich. All of these things that are stated here in the pasuk is necessary to teach havla, with the exception of bokar. My tzrichi. So now he goes through the things that are necessary to share how each one is necessary to be stated, because we have a tosefes chiddush for those things. As follows: the ikos of rachmana b'bakar. Starting with bakar, which he's going to come back to and say bakar really is superfluous. If I only taught by Bakar the concept of Havla, then Havamina Bakar hu de mizdavein al gav aroi mishum de gufehu. I might think when you buy the Bakar, so then you also get the hides, because the hides are intrinsic to the Bakar. It's part of its goof. Aval tsoin al gav gizosa de lav gufehu emaloi. When it comes to the sheep, since the wool is not part of its body, but it grows forth from the body, I might think that that's not something that you can go ahead and acquire. And if I only had the case of the sheep, agav gizoso havamina mishum de mechubarba aval yain agab kankoin emoloi. I might think the sheep, granted, it's not going to be part of the body, but nonetheless it's attached. So that's why I go ahead and be able to then acquire the wool from the sheep. But when it comes to the kankan that is holding the wine, that I don't acquire. Because the kankan is really guarding the wine. I need the kankan to then be able to then get the wine, since the wine is being protected by the kankan. But when it comes to the old wine, the sheikhar, that temed which becomes fermented, so the acidity is really essentially just coming out with excessive water. So there I would say that you cannot acquire that. Therefore the Torah has to write sheikhar as well. So in each and every one of these things, we see that there's an additional chiddush why I need to state it, that I might not know it from the others. So now Rabbi Yochanan points out why all of those are good, with the exception of Bakar. Because of Rachmana b'Sheikhar, and he goes back the other way. Why each one cannot be learned out from the latter. If I only wrote by Sheikhar, Havamina my Sheikhar, why would I think that Sheikhar in old wine is necessary? The Veila Ki'ila to Peirahu. I might think that it's not going to be really for wine, but rather the Torah is coming to teach me that a pressed fig of Ki'ila, which is peri, that's why I can go ahead and use it for havlo. Aval yayin al gabe kankanoi, loy, emaloi. But in regards to the kankan of the wine, not. Because of rachmana yayin al gav kankon hainu nitirusei. I would say the reason why you can go ahead and acquire the kankan because it protects the wine. Aval tsoin al gav gizosa emaloi. But in regards to the sheep, which I'm getting together, I'm getting the wool with it, I would say you can't get the wool with it. Therefore, because Rahman tzoin da'afil gav gizosa, that it comes together with the tzon. Ba'bokar lameli, but says Rabbi Yochanan, why do I need bokar? Or you'll tell me, v'chitein ma'iloi kosav Rahman ba'bokar. Had the Torah not written bokar, then hava amina tzoin agav oira in agav gizosa loy. I would only know then tzoin with its hide, but without the wool, because I wouldn't know it since I don't have bakar to teach me that sonis then has this tosefis chiddush of its wool. So therefore, that's why I need bakar to teach me that bakar is teaching me or the hides, whereas son is teaching me the wool. That's why it's superfluous in its son to teach me the wool. But Rabbi Yochanan says, now that can't be, because if the Torah had written bakar, then lo hava minat son agav ora in agabe gizasaloi. Then I would not think to say by tzoin that it's only its or and not its wool. Even if the Torah did not write bakar and it only wrote son, I wouldn't think that. Why? Because the im kain lichtay rachmana bakar. Then let the Torah write bakar, and bakar will teach me then that I get the or, the hides, and don't write son at all. And from there I'll know hides. The memela ayaser leit soin. The kivan the kaser rachman et soin. Da afilo agav gizasa ba bakar lamali. Because if indeed I did have soin, then for sure I would then know that it's the wool. Therefore, why do I need bakar? In other words, if I'm just teaching bakar itself will teach me the hides. And therefore, I wouldn't need son to teach me the hides, because it's more intrinsic to learn out hides from bakar. So therefore, don't teach me soin and just teach me bakar. But hashtat soin al gav gizosa mizdavno bakar gabe orami boy. Do I need that? In other words, now that the Torah just teaches me tzoin, then I already know the Tosefes Chiddush of the wool, which of course includes the hides, and then I don't need to teach bakar. So Rabbi Yochanan comes to prove that bakar is superfluous, because I can skip bakar and still learn out hides from tzoin. Since tzoin teaches me the Chiddush of the wool, because if it didn't teach me the chiddush of the wool, it would only teach me the hides and teach me bakar, because bakar is more intrinsically teaching me hides. So once it doesn't teach me only hides, and someone teaches me also the wool, then I don't need bakar altogether. I can go straight to soin. So therefore, that's why Rabbi Yochanan said what he said. Hainu de kama Rabbi Yochanan, man de metargim li ba bakar, the one who's able to then interpret for me in this brisa of Ben Bagbag. Why do we need bakar? Alibo de Ben Bagbag, moivilina mane lebe misusa. Then I will bring, I'll mechabed him by bringing his clothes to the bathhouse behind him.